Alrighty, hi, welcome to our second video. So this is pretty close approximation of the file that we're going to be making. We've got some if statements here. We're going to be using a scanner, but I'm just going to show you how to create this from scratch. So let's just call this, video 2A. It's an easy name to go with. We're going to create a new version of this file, save it. Alrighty, and then again, so we covered this last time, I'm going to start by writing class and then main, and that just gets us started. And as always, maybe put your name up here. So mine is Sabrina. Alrighty, so we're going to be talking about scanners today. So you can see over here in this example file I have, I'm just going to take these first two lines, copy paste those over here. And I'm just doing this in a new file so we can kind of see it like build from the ground up. So we have, when we initialize a scanner, we're going to start the same way we do with variables, what we're doing, so it's a scanner. Give it a name, let's call this one SCNR. And we're going to say new scanner system.in, and this just creates our scanner. Now, if we want to do, let's say we want to take in like strings as the information that we're getting from the user. What scanners are going to do is they're going to take information in from the user in a form of a variable. So that could be an integer, it could be a floating point, it could be a character, a string, a whole paragraph of text, which is still technically a string. We're just going to say string, let's call this text equals scanner, not this scanner, whatever name you've given it. You could call it Bob if you wanted to. I'm going to do scanner.next. Now you'll notice when I write next, this comes up here and it says string. If we want to, we can do next int and that'll take in an integer. But here we're creating a string variable, so let's write next. And this just says that whatever our next string is that we type into the terminal, that's what's going to be assigned to that variable text. Alright, so let's save that really quick. We're going to open up a new terminal, and let's just write javac video2a.java. I'm going to compile. Ooh, and looks like we have an error. Oh my gosh. Okay, took me a second. This is very important. We're always going to need, typically in VS Code, these will auto-populate for you, which is why I did not think about this. But sometimes, depending on the software that you're running, your imports won't automatically come in. So anytime you're using a scanner, you're going to need to do import java.util.scanner. And this just means that we're going to be importing all the information associated with the scanner, and it allows us to run it. So let's save that really quickly. Sorry about that. And you can see that our arrows went away. And then we're just going to write java video2a.java. Alrighty, and so you'll notice nothing happens, which is important because what we're going to do is I'm going to take my keyboard here and I'm going to write, my name is Sabrina, and I'm going to press enter. And now we have a string named text, which has been assigned to that. So maybe let's print out text. Okay, and we're going to redo this. So we're going to compile. And this time maybe let's just write Sabrina, because that's my name. And you'll see like I type it in, and then it spits it back out. So this is really useful anytime you want to take in input from the user and spit it back out with something changed, perhaps. So that's how you do it with a string. Now let's try doing this with an integer. So let's say we're going to take an integer called x, and we're going to do scanner.next int, and I'm just going to delete this real quick But in your case, if you're worried about forgetting how to do it, you can always just comment it out. It's a pretty easy thing to do. So we're going to create X, Y, and Z. And let's get rid of string for now. So we're just going to focus on some integers. Alrighty. Now what we can do is we can print out X, Y, and Z. And you'll remember from our last video, this just allows us to put them all together. So, and you know what, maybe let's do some spaces here. All right. So let's do 24 and 567 and 3. And you'll see that those just get spit back out the same way they came in. Now we don't have these spaces in here. They're going to be all right next to each other, which isn't the best. So we're just going to keep those in for now. Alrighty, now we're going to look at some if statements. Now again, if you just write if without a space and press enter, that's going to set up your if statement for you really nicely. So we're going to look at this condition here. Now this is going to be any statement that evaluates to either true or false. It's going to be any kind of Boolean. So let's just say if X is greater than Y, and then we're going to say X is bigger than Y. And then maybe we want to evaluate another condition. So we can do another if statement, but what if we're saying like, okay, let's evaluate this, but if this isn't true, if this first statement doesn't evaluate to be true, let's check another one. And so again, we can do else if, enter, and that'll auto-populate, which is great. And now we're going to say, what if X is less than Y? Now this is a useful thing to do because, you know, if this one doesn't evaluate to be true, there's a possibility this one could be. And we're going to say Y is bigger than X. Alrighty. Now let's, our terminal's getting a little messy here. So just a fun fact, you can write clear right up here, and that's going to just clear everything out for you, but you can still use your up and down arrow keys to compile and then run. So maybe let's do 4, 5, and 0 for Z, because it doesn't really matter. So you can see that X is going to be assigned to 4, Y is going to be 5, so we should be evaluating this if statement down here, that Y is bigger than X. But let's see. Yep, and we get that Y is bigger than X. So that's great. And let's comment this out just so that doesn't print again. Now we can also do things that are a little bit more complicated. So maybe we care about, or actually let's comment this guy out for now. I'm just going to do command/. Maybe we care about the value of X being greater than both Y and Z. So let's set up an if statement. And if this evaluates to be true, we want it to say X is the biggest. So this condition is going to be something called A, and it's also going to be something called B. And to do an and, we're going to use two ampersand next to each other like that. So for our A statement that we're evaluating, we're going to say X greater than Y and X greater than Z. Now let's save that, and just for ease of like reading this, we're going to put these in parentheses because I really prefer that. Alrighty, now let's go over here, we're going to compile, and we're going to run. And so let's make X 4,000, and then we're going to make Y 5, and we're going to make Z6. And then we see that x is the biggest number. And that's really useful. Now, what we might also care about or statements. So we can say else if, enter. And so for an or statement, we're going to do, it's going to be the sort of straight up and down lines here. And what maybe we care about y being bigger than something. So we're going to say either y is bigger than x or y is bigger than z. And then maybe we're going to say stout y is bigger than something. Now the thing about if and else if statements is that, well, let's run this real quick, and you're going to see in just a second. So we're going to compile that, and then we're going to run it. Let's create a situation where x is bigger than y and z, but y is also bigger than something. So we're going to do x is going to be like 1,000, y is going to be 500, and maybe z is 10, and then we're going to press enter. So you'll notice it only prints out our first statement, x is the biggest, and this is because an else if statement only evaluates if the first if evaluates to be false, or evaluates to be false. Yeah. So we find that x is the biggest, and then we don't even check this down here. Now, if we had, if this was just another if statement, so if we just do that, compile, run, we're going to put in the same values. Notice that both of them pop up. So this is just a basic overview of like taking in information from a scanner and some if and else if statements. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.